We're ready. Thank you.
Jai Shishi Guru Garanga Ganhava Giridhari Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai. Sachinanda Nagora Hari Ki Jai. Jai Nityalila Pravishta Omasto Tarazara Shishi Marshila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Nityalila Pravishta Omasto Tarazara Shishi Marshila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Nityalila Pravishta Omasto Tarazara Shishi Marshila Bhakti Vedanta Vamana Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Nityalila Pravishta Omasto Tarazara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Rakshak Shira Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Nityalila Pravishta Omasto Tarazara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Jagat Guru Nityalila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Mahabhagavat Srila Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Saptam Goswami Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Jagannath Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan Gaudiya Varantacharya Ki Jai. Jai Rasik Siromani Srila Vishnath Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Treya Ki Jai. Jai Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami Ki Jai. Jai Shri Rup Sanatan, Shivata Raghunath, Shri Jiva Gopal, Bhattasa Raghunath Sat Goswami Prabhu's Ki Jai. Jai Swarup Damodar, Rai Ramananda Gaura Prasada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sika Hosi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakund Radha Kund Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Navadvip Dham Ki Jai, Ganga Jamuna Ki Jai, Brihat Mridanga Ki Jai. Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai, Nam Bhajan Ki Jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sujarshan Chakra Ki Jai, Nrsingadev Bhagavan Ki Jai, Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai, Antadvip Mayapur Simantadvip Gautandvip Madhyadvip Koladvip Ritadvip Janadvip Motandvip Rudadvip Apnakanavadvip Dham Ki Jai, Badravan, Bandiravan, Belvan, Lohavan, Mahavan, Madhuvan, Talvan, Kamudvan, Bahulavan, Vrindavan, Kadyavan, Kamyavan, Vraja-mandala Ki Jai. Jai Vraja-mandala Parikrama 2021 Ki Jai. Srila Gurudev Centennial 2021 Ki Jai. Ananta Gauta Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol.
Okay. So Maharaji asked me to sing this bhajan. Like he was singing that bhajan. Ali Mohe Lage Vrindavan and Niko. So I'll sing that one because we are going to Kamyavan in Braj.
Yes.
I actually yesterday I just went to Kamyavan, all of the places.
Wow, beautiful.
Yeah. Ali mohe lage Vrindavan niko, 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 Ali mohe lage Vrindavan niko. घर घर तुलसी ठाकुर पूजा, घर घर तुलसी ठाकुर पूजा, दर्शन गोविंद जी को, दर्शन गोविंद जी को, आली मोहे लागे वृंदावन 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 को. हो निर्मल जल बहत यमुना को, हाँ निर्मल जल बहत यमुना को, भोजन दूध दही को, भोजन दूध दही को, आली मोह लागे वृंदावन को, आली मोह लागे वृंदावन को। रतन सिंहासन आप विराजे, रतन सिंहासन, रतन सिंहासन आप विराजे, रतन सिंहासन आप विराजे, मुकुट धर्यो तुलसी को, मुकुट धर्यो तुलसी को, आली मोह लागे वृंदावन नीको, आली मोह लागे वृंदावन नीको। मीरा के प्रभु गिरधर नागर, मीरा के प्रभु गिरधर नागर, मीरा के, मीरा के, मीरा के प्रभु गिरधर नागर, मीरा के प्रभु गिरधर नागर, भजन बिना नर फीको, भजन बिना नर फीको, आली मोह लागे वृंदावन को, आली मोह लागे वृंदावन को, आली मोह लागे वृंदावन को, आली मोह लागे वृंदावन। ओ जय वृंदावन धाम, वृंदावन धाम, वृंदावन धाम, जय वृंदावन धाम, जय काम्यवन धाम, काम्यवन धाम, काम्यवन धाम, जय काम्यवन धाम, गुरुदेव गुरुदेव गुरुदेव, जय जय गुरुदेव, जय जय प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद, जय प्रभुपाद।
Hari
गौर
Bol.
प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल।
I'm just going to read the translation.
Yes.
Oh friend.
Maharaj.
Am I open?
Yes,
Oh.
yes.
Yes, we can hear you. Yeah.
Oh friend, I like Vrindavan so much. There Tulsi and Thakurji are worshipped in every home, and one can obtain darshan of Govinda-dev, Govinda-ji. The pure waters of Yamuna flow there, and the meals consist of milk and yogurt. On a jeweled throne, you, the deity, sit with Tulsi for a crown. Radhika roams from grove to grove, hearing the sound of the flute. Mira's master is the heroic Giridhari. Without doing bhajan, a person is dull. Jai, Manasa Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Dhanyavad.
And was that Subi in the background on the kartals?
No. It was
Machine.
my electronic.
Oh, really? That's really good. That's really good. Thank you so much. Listen, I don't know anything about bhajans or music for that matter, but all I can say is when you're doing kirtan, I really feel like another window is being opened up into Braj for my heart to travel there by the mercy of Gurudev and Parampara. So it's very beautiful. Thank you. And we're lucky that we have you closing as well today. So it's a double helping. Thank you, Manas.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Vanchakalpatrubhischa, kripasinduevacha, patitanam bhavanabhyo, vaishnavabhyo namo. Om Gyan Tirumandasya Gyanjana Salakaya Chakshramanitam Yena Tashmai Shudgurave Namaha Trinada Pi Sunichana Tarona Pi Sahishnana Amanina Manarena Kitni Sadahari Tatenu Kampam Susamik Shamano Bhojana Makritam Vipakam Hit Vakapadevi Dadam Namaste Chivatoyo Mukti Sadaya Bak Vachavegam Ashkorvegam Jivavegam Urarapastavegam Etamvegam Yovisahetadira Savamapiman Pritvim Sasisyat Anya Balasta Sunyam Yan Kamriana Virtam Anukalenya Krishna Shilanam Bhakti Uttama Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadata Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. I pay my Shishtanga Dandavats to my beloved Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Swami Maharaj, to Srila Prabhupada, to the Parampara, to our whole Rupanuga line, to Rishi Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Rupa Goswami, Lord Nishananda Prabhu, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Shri Radha Krishna. I pay my Shishtanga Dandavats to all of the beautiful assembled devotees who are coming every day on this wonderful Parikrama, this Zumakram, and I also pay my Shishtanga Dandavat Pranams to all the devotees who are watching on YouTube, Facebook, and future recordings. We have a lot of people who come through the recordings as well. So today is day 22. Sounds like we've really, the Vrat, if you like, is really accumulating now. And today we have a Govardhan prasadam feast of Harikatha today in its size. We have 10 places we're going. So we'll be having our normal map time and video from Janardhan Prabhu, and we'll be going to Dig, to Vraja-mandala, to Pichala-pahadi, the slide hill, to Vyomasura's cave, to Carana-pahadi, to Vrinda-devi, to Kamesvara Mahadeva, Dharma-kund, Bimalakund, and then finally Adi-badrinath. And guiding us there will be under the guidance of our beloved Maharajas, Shripad Bhaktivedanta Nemi Maharaj and Shripad Bhaktivedanta Tridandi Maharaj, plus our extra special guest speaker for today also, Shriman Prakashatma Prabhu. So very excited, it's a big feast. So fasten your seatbelts. I shall now hand over to our beloved dear Shripad Bhaktivedanta Tridandi Maharaj to open the proceedings. Haribol Maharaj, good morning and good afternoon to you. Haribol.
Dandavat Yashoda, thank you. But I think Tarun is going to introduce the video first, correct, Tarun? Yes, so we'll watch a video first.
Lasatkundalam gokule Vraja-mandalam
So many thanks to our dear Janardhan Prabhu for working quite hard on this particular video. It was a very long video and he cut it down dramatically so we could cram it in. So now Tarunji is going to pull the map up today. Oh, first I'll offer some Dandavat pranams. So I'm first of all taking shelter of my most beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila, Prapishta Om Asto Tarastara Shishimat, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering my Sastang Dandavats again and again to our most beloved Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada and all our illustrious Rupanuga Guru Varga and all the devotees on this thread headed by our Tridandi Pujapad Bhaktivedanta Nemi Maharaj, and to all the devotees who will be listening to this on other platforms, etc. My most dandavat pranams to all of you. Hare Krishna. So as Yashoda Prabhu said, it's a long Parikrama today. Actually, traditionally on the Parikrama, we don't generally have time for long Mangalacharyans. It's usually just Jai, Shishi Guru Guranga, and Havika Ki Jai, Srila Gurudev Ki Jai. That's like our standard on when we're actually out in the field on the Parikrama, because time is always of the essence, especially today. Today is an exceptional day, as Yashoda Prabhu was mentioning. We're going to be leaving our Giridhari Mat and crossing over the back of Giriraj and driving out towards Dig, towards Rajasthan. We're going to drive west from Govardhan. So if Tarunji would like to put the map, please, up on the screen, and we can show our journey there. Yes, okay. So if we expand that a bit. And
pardon? Up, did you say?
Yes, take it up a little bit. No, the other way. Other way. Other way. Yes. We want to see Govardhan. Okay. Okay, so that's good. So if everyone can open up the map a bit, they can see Govardhan in green down here at the bottom. So we're going to cross over the back of Govardhan. And today there's two routes we can take. It's important just to know this, because so you don't become unfamiliar. We can either go along to Varshana and Nandagaon. You see Varshana at the top there? There's Nandagaon and Varshana. Yes, we can go that way. And then from Nandagaon, we can come down to Kamyavan. Where are you going with your cursor? You're wandering around, Tarun. Yes. Where are we? Nandagaon, yes. So we're not going to go that way at the beginning of our journey, but we're going to come back this way. We're going to come back via here. So today you'll see right down the bottom of the map, Dig, D-I-G. It's in Rajasthan. Yes, you can see where the cursor is. So this is now in Rajasthan. And this is a remarkable place. Actually, it's a fortress town, because of course it's on the border of Rajasthan. And there's some very beautiful ancient buildings and gardens in that town. I'll mention it as we go through. And then from Dig, we're going to go straight out west to Adi-badri. So this is going to be a gentle road. If we go the other road via Varshana and Nandagaon, which we can do, then we've got a very, very rough road from Nandagaon to Kamyavan. Perhaps many of the devotees will remember that horrific road full of potholes, because they're doing mining of the mountains there in Kamyavan, and big heavy duty trucks. They ride on that road constantly, so they completely wreck the road. So I'm sure many of the devotees listening today will have deep impressions of that horrendous road. But don't worry, because today we're not going to take it. We're going to go around the smooth road down the southwest corner from Dig. We're going to go to Badri. So then after Badri, we're going to come up towards Kamyavan. You can go right up with your cursor there, Tarun. Tarun? Where's Tarun gone? Yes, okay, yes. Right up there and into Kamyavan. Okay. Okay, and then we're going to basically stay in there. So if you see all this in the complete picture of the Vraja-mandala, you can see we're in the southern western area. We've basically covered the forests on the eastern side, Bhadravan, Bandiravan, Beolvan, Lohavan, and Mahavan, those main forests on that side. And we've covered the south, the mid-south area before Govardhan, Madhuban, Talvan, Bahulavan, Kamudvan. We've covered all that area. Now, for the next few days, we're going to be going in the western side of the Vraja-mandala. So this is the beginning. This is the most northern part, practically, Kamyavan. Okay, so I hope the devotees can begin to get a picture of the overall map. If we look at it like this daily or regularly, we start to become familiar, at least where the principal towns are, and Jamuna-devi is, and where that Grand Trunk Road cuts through, and where Govardhan is. So we start to get some bearings, basically, on our travels around Braj, so we're not completely lost, not knowing which way our compass is going, etc. Okay, so we're doing this like southwestern route today on a good road. Okay, Tarunji, thank you. So our first stop is going to be Dig, which is an ancient city, was a large city previously. Dig itself means that when Krishna plays his flute, that the sound vibration will loosen the clothes of the gopis, particularly Shri Radhika, and it will loosen her bashful mood also. And this is described as, I just read in this, it's very beautiful here. Just a second. Where did we go? I just wanted to share with you what Srila Gurudev was saying directly about Dig. It's he gives a very sweet explanation describing Krishna and no, can't find it. Okay, so let me just see. No, not happening. So yes, it's describing how the name Dig derives from this mood of Krishna, who is able to loosen the bashfulness of the gopis by the sound of his flute. So many, many pastimes are performed in this beautiful city of Dig. And with our Parikrama, traditionally, we stop here at one disciple of Srila Gurudev, and he has a very large house, like a temple area, where he can sit and feed more than 1,000 people at a time. So we sit here and we take our first breakfast of the day quite early, about 7:30, 8 o'clock. Khichdi and halwa and yogurt is what he generally serves traditionally. And in the past, we've actually stayed in this town of Dig, and there's a beautiful palace area, and it has immaculate gardens, very beautifully tended gardens. And Srila Gurudev would love to walk through these gardens. They were protected from monkeys and from too many people just coming through, like making a rubbish of it. They had gates and so on. So it was like a tended large area, perhaps 2 or 3 acres of gardens. So this is a remnant of the Rajputas. The Rajputras were the traditional Kshatriya warriors that manifest in Rajasthan traditionally. So we stay in this township of Dig, and we remember sweet Krishna's pastime of attracting the gopis and playing his flute. in such a way that the bashfulness of the gopis would be loosened. This is how it's described. And the word dig itself is derived from that expression of Krishna's flute. So now from dig, we're going to continue out west, and we're going to come to the most western extremity of the Vraja-mandala, which is Adi-badri. So Adi-badri is non-different to Badrinath in the Himalaya. So the Brijabasis, they wanted to take darshan one time of Badrinath, just like they wanted to take darshan of Ganga-devi previously. And Krishna manifested, as we described, Ganga-devi. He called her, she came, riding on her crocodile. So now Krishna, he calls that holy tirtha of Badrikashram to make an appearance here permanently in Braj. So it's as if it's like an expansion of the original Adi-badri, or the original Badrikashram. So yes, we have some photographs for you later. Okay, Tarun, you don't need to show that. Okay, you've got that. Yes, what was that you were showing, Tarun?
The deities here.
In Badrikashram, in Adi-badri.
Yeah.
Yes. These are all rishis and sages that are there. It's sage country. It's an incredibly beautiful area because it's mountainous and it has enormous trees. And especially if you're fortunate to go there in the summertime, it's always very, very cool. And there are beautiful kunds, like right up high. You have to walk up very steep, high steps for a long way. And then we get darshan of these beautiful kunds. And all around the kunds are different sorts of cabins where pilgrims can stay for the night. So many people, they stay in this, just very simple, with open fires, etc. So we stay here and we hear the glories of this Adi-badri, how when Badri Narayan was performing his austerities here, and Indradev, he became intimidated by the potency that Badri Narayan was invoking. He thought his own power was going to be eclipsed. So he sent some apsaras to challenge Badri Narayan's austerity, but Badri Narayan from his own body manifested many apsaras, and especially one came from his left side, Urvasi, and she completely bewildered all the other apsaras. Even Indra was bewildered by her extreme beauty. So Indra himself was bewildered by Badri Narayan. So this is the pastime that we hear her here. And many rishis and saints, etc., have spent their time here, sadhaks and so on. So it's a very opulent place of sweetness and speciality, particularly the beauty. Srila Gurudev describes it in the Parikrama book in a very sweet way. He's saying how beautiful the landscape, etc., is here. And I can't find it here in the book. But anyway, we can just appreciate its beauty. So if you've been there before, you'll remember. And if you haven't been there, look forward to it. And know that it's an atmosphere exactly like the Himalaya mountains. When you're there, it's usually quite chilly. You need a chadar, etc. And it reminds us of being in the Himalayas. It's a very beautiful environment and atmosphere. So now moving along, because we have a lot of places to cover today. Now we're going to drive directly to Kamyavan. So Kamyavan traditionally was a very large It's the fourth largest forest of Braj. We have Mahavan, and we have Vrindavan, and Brihat Vrindavan, and Bahulavan, and we have Kamyavan. So I'm going to read a couple of paragraphs here from Srila Gurudev's Vraja-mandala Parikrama book, describing the extraordinary speciality of this place of Kamyavan is the traditional home of Mother Yashoda. And geographically, there's a very short route from Kamyavan straight across to Nandagaon. The roads today for the traffic don't go on this back road, but actually there is this back road between Nandagaon and Kamyavan. And this would be the routes that Mother Yashoda would regularly visit her parental, her home, etc. in Kamyavan. And sometimes we would also, on the Parikrama, have the fortune to travel on that back inside road, which is extremely beautiful. But now we've come to Kamyavan, and Gurudev is describing it's the fourth among the 12 forests of Vraja-mandala and is one of the topmost forests. The fortunate person who circumambulates this forest is revered within Vrajadam. So we are having that fortune today. Then it's described, O Maharaj, thereafter lies Kamyavan, where Brajendra-nandan, Sri Krishna, performed many childhood pastimes. Bathing in Kam and other ponds in this forest fulfills all kinds of desires, even the desire for service to Krishna that is imbued with prem. If the devotees desire prem, devotion with prem, this also can be manifested from this exceptional forest of Kamyavan. Gurudev describes the word Kam can only really be used to denote the gopis' prem for Sri Krishna. Premanaiva gopi Ramanaband Karam iti agamata pratham. From the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it's saying, in other words, the pure prem of the gopis exists solely to give Krishna happiness and does not carry even the slightest scent of worldly lust. In the scriptures, it is only this prem that is referred to as Kam. It's also described that the gopis are always meditating, described in Venu-Gita. How can they satisfy Krishna's Kam? So this city that we're entering today, or this very large township, derives its name from this mood of great affection that the gopis demonstrate towards Krishna, Kamyavan. The pure prem of the gopis is wholly opposite to the lusty desires of this world. The only aim of the gopis' Kam, which is devoid of all varieties of such lust, is to give happiness to Krishna, the abode of prem. These are very significant statements by Srila Gurudev that we are trying to catch up the import of this mood in Kamyavan that Srila Gurudev is describing. We've just had 3 days glorification of the Vaishnavas in Giriraj Govardhan, and listening to their extensive moods and services that they performed for their gurus, we should also take this opportunity today to try to emulate, to try to be inspired by their moods, take their moods from the last 3 days that we had glorification today into our parikrama, and look with the same enthusiasm to find some mood of service that we can perform simply by coming to these places, by taking the trouble to come. Even today, by taking the trouble to come on Zoom and visit these places mentally, is going to collect, so much sukriti, which is so fundamentally important for our progress in bhakti. It's described, my Gurudev continues, therefore Srimad Bhagavatam and other scriptures refer to the pure and unadulterated prem of the gopis as Kam. Kamyavan is the pastime place where the divine couple, Sri Radha and Krishna, express such transcendental prem. In this forest, one can even attain quite easily the gopis' genuine prem in the form of pure calm. What to speak of being able to fulfill all kinds of worldly desires. So in this township of Kamyavan, we're going to have the great fortune of visiting many deities that are residing here. In this township, the deities of Vrindavan were being carried out of Braj in fear of the Muslims, and they resided for 1 or 2 nights here. This is Radha Govinda, Radha Gopinath, Madan Mohan, and of course Vrinda-devi. So because those potent deities resided here for a single night, then temples have been built on that spot where they resided for the night, and we celebrate those personalities in this township today, and we'll come back to these personalities. But to begin with, as we enter the township of Kamyavan, we park our buses, etc., and then we walk through the fields to this first pastime place of Bhojana-thali, this Bhojana-thali, where the cowherd boys would take their boga, where they would take their preparations, and they would place them on the rocks, and the rocks melted in ecstasy at being in the proximity of Krishna and his illustrious sakhas, listening to them all. They all play their little flutes, pipes and bugles, etc. And Krishna would also play with them. So the sound vibration of these musical instruments had an effect on the rocks, which melted the rocks to form basins, etc. So I think, Tarunji, you have a photograph of this. Tarunji is still here. So if you can get up those pictures of the Bhojana-thali. Yes, there we go. This is Gurudev. You see, there's an impression, a very deep impression where Gurudev has his actual hand just underneath there. It's like a bowl. Yes, here, these are very pronounced impressions. These impressions are left to give us today profound faith in the reality of these pastimes. When we're standing here today in Kamyavan at Bhojana-thali with all the devotees, with Srila Gurudev, and we're seeing these impressions, we know conclusively that just in a blink of an eye, Krishna was here with all the sakhas performing incredible, beautiful pastimes in Sakya Ras, principally in this area where we're describing today. So there are many impressions around this area that we're going to witness today of their footprints, etc. The cows' footprints, these Carana-pahadis. We're going to go to 2 of them. So this is very inspiring for the devotees' faith. Yes, this is the building where that particular stone is situated, and all the devotees will crowd in there, and Srila Gurudev will request that we place whatever we have in our bags as an offering that he can make towards the personalities residing in Kamyavan today, Brajendranandan, Shamsundar in particular. So we all take our biscuits and dates and whatever it is we're carrying, and we have been prepared for it back at the temple. We understood we were going to do this. So we all came with some type of offering, and we make a whole mountain of various snacks, etc. And Srila Gurudev himself will offer all of this. And then we will move from here, and just where this photograph has been taken, where we're standing, there's a kund, a very large kund called Krishna Kund. Previously, you can see the steps on our right of the photograph there, and you can walk down the steps. The kund is practically dried up now, but you walk across some grassy areas, and there's some water left because there's an underground spring that comes, and you can take archaman, and you can sprinkle it over your body and get the purity and speciality of this particular holy place. And now we're going to make this offering, and then we're going to carry this offering just a very short distance across to the right of this photograph, and we come to a very large area which has some protruding rocks, etc., and has a beautiful, very small temple. I've forgotten actually who's in there, but I think it's Radha and Krishna are there on that altar. And then I think also, I think, yes, are these the deities that are there?
Yeah,
No.
yeah. I was wondering, Maharaj. I just saw this.
No. This is Sri Gopinath.
Okay.
That's not at the particular place where we are. We will go to that place of Gopinath today. And you saw in that brief picture of Gopinath, there's a Nanga Manjari standing again on Gopinath's left. So this is the same pastime we described in Vraja-mandala. So now we've gone across to the right of this picture, and we've carried all this bhoga that we've offered at Bhojana-thali. And then we all sit down and we take our second breakfast of the day. So we took our first in Dig, and then we visited Adi-badrinath, and now we've come into Kamyavan forest. And our first stop, our first place is this Bhojana-thali. And now we've walked a little distance, and we're going to sit, and we hear many pastimes describing Krishna and the Sakhas in this particular area where we're sitting, taking our breakfast also, in a very jovial type of atmosphere. Gurudev is always very happy and extremely jolly, so to speak, in this particular place. It has a special sweetness about it, where we're remembering the cowherd boys and their games with each other, etc. So now we've taken our second breakfast from here, and we're going to walk again on a very small path, maybe half a mile from where we've just taken our breakfast. We're going to come through some little fields and across a way, and then we're going to come to the very steep mountainside hill of where Vyomasura's cave is situated, and we'll see it from the road. Meanwhile, our buses have driven around to come to locate themselves in this area. We won't go onto the buses, but the buses just park there. And then we're going to climb this hill. I think you have a photograph there of the devotees climbing this hill to take darshan of yes, there we go. Beautiful. You see how steep it is? These are all the hills in Kamyavan, because Braj doesn't have a lot of hills and mountains, but in this area of Rajasthan, there's many hills and mountains. So we remember the story of Vyomasura. Vyomasura was the last demon that Krishna kills in Braj. There's 21 demons described that are purified by Krishna in Braj. Just before Vyomasura was Keshi demon, but now this Vyomasura is the final one. Vyoma gets the name from Para-vyoma. Para-vyoma means the greater sky. Para-vyoma, sky. So Vyomasura means a demon who could leap high and fly in the sky. His father was Mayasura. This was the name of his father, and was a great demon. Actually, originally, this demon was a great king. His name was Bhima, and he was in Varanasi, and he was very renowned and well known for his distribution of wealth, etc., to the Brahmins. But he retired from his kingdom and went to the Malaya hills for austerities. And one day, Pulastya Rishi visited the place where he was staying, the hermitage, with many of his disciples. And it's described that Bhimarata, he neglected to welcome them properly. So Pulastya cursed him to become a demon, but blessed him that he would be liberated by Krishna and take birth as Vyoma, the son of Mayasura. So this demon, he came while Krishna was playing right here after their bhojan with the cow, with the boys, etc. And Krishna and Balaram devised a game where there would be thieves, and some of the boys would be acting as sheep, and some of the boys would be acting as judges to decide who had stolen the most sheep. So Vyomasura, he infiltrated with all the cowherd boys, and he began to steal the boys who were acting as sheep. And he took so many of them, and he had a cave right on this hill where we're looking now, and he was pushing the boys into the cave and then closing the opening of the cave with a huge boulder. And practically the boys were suffocating inside. And gradually, he took all the cowherd boys till there's only 3 or 4 left. Krishna, of course, knew exactly what was going on from the very beginning, but he let him carry out his plan just to show his heroism towards the suckers. They would be pleased to actually have a real demon infiltrate in their game today. So when there was just 3 or 4 boys left, then Krishna grabbed this false cowherd boy very, very tightly. And of course, Vyomasura was trying to get released from Krishna's clutches. Krishna was holding his legs and he couldn't get away. Then Vyomasura, he manifested his full, huge form. He had a massive form. It's described as big as a mountain. But Krishna held on completely. He couldn't get away. And then Vyomasura, he started leaping into the sky to try and shake Krishna free. But he couldn't shake him free. And instead, Krishna dragged him to crash onto the ground. And just at the top of this hill, we can see the very place where Vyomasura crashed to the ground. But he would repeatedly crash on the ground and then rise up again. He wasn't killed instantly. And while he was crashing on the ground, repeatedly, the whole planet began to slip on its axis. And it was becoming imbalanced. And Baladev Prabhu immediately remembered his omniscience and immediately planted his footprint, his foot, very heavily on Mother Earth to steady her from slipping off her axis. And at the bottom of this hill, we are fortunate enough to have darshan of that huge footprint of Baladev Prabhu, where he steadied Mother Earth from the pounding of this Vyomasura demon crashing into the hillside. And then eventually, Vyomasura, he crashes fully into the hilltop and leaves his body. Krishna is sitting on top of Vyomasura and of course is unscathed entirely. But the crown and the jewels of Vyomasura scatter, and we can see their impressions today on top of the hill. You can see his crown. You can see the impression of Vyomasura's crown right here on top of the hill. So this is the cave where we're going to visit. So when Krishna kills that demon, then he comes to the cave, and with one mighty punch at the rock that's been slid across to close the cave off, Krishna shatters it. And then all the cowherd boys, they've all actually passed out because they've been suffocated with no air. And then Krishna immediately makes that opening and they get revived and they come back to life. And then they see this enormous demon of Vyomasura. And then, of course, they congratulate Krishna so much. And they congratulate Baladev too, also, because they understand what he has done. So this is a very joyful pastime for the sakas that is performed right here. So now we come down this hill and we walk across to our left. from where this picture is, and we walk through a little village, and we go through right the way through the village, and we come out into a sort of openish area, and we walk perhaps another quarter of a mile, and then we come to this incredible pastime place of the Pichala-pahadi, the slide where the sakas would love to slide. It's a natural, slippery part of the rock. We have a photograph here also of that slide, and you can see Gurudev. We just saw it in the video. Yes, so I think this is Krishnadas here going down the slide. So all the devotees would come up and one by one go down this slide. I mean, it's great fun even today. The devotees love participating in this pastime of just coming on the slide here. And right close by, there's a rock. And if you tap it, it makes remarkable musical sounds. So this Shila, this Pichala-pahadi Shila is there right next to this slide. So the devotees, we celebrate this slide and we remember these wonderful pastimes in Sakyabhav of all the devotees, all the sakas rather, who would play in this area around this slide. So then we come down, we retrace our steps back to where our buses were, next to that mountain, Vyomasura's cave. And then we're going to drive now into the city itself of Kamyavan. But on the way, we pass another Carana-pahadi, and we climb up some very high steps, and we can see right across the valley, and we can see deep in the valley from the very top, we can see deep in the valley a beautiful kund. It's called Luki Kund. And this is actually the place where Prabodhananda Saraswati had his bhajan kutia. And it's right in the middle of a valley. And we're standing right on the top of a hill, and there's footprints. There's Carana-pahadi right on the top of the hill. We can see Krishna's footprint. We can see the footprint of the cows. They're all around on the top of this mountainside that we're having darshan of before we actually enter proper into the township of Camyavan. So this is the darshan of the second pahadi today. It's called Luki Kund. And so many pastimes took place there. Luki basically means that it's described as Jal Krida, where many water pastimes would take place between Krishna and the gopis here. The gopis would also come here. This whole forest is drenched in wonderful pastime. There's a wonderful atmosphere as we're walking around here, because we're like far away from the busy section of Braj, and it's very much a rural place where we're having darshan of all these footprints today. It's very powerful. So then we come into the township of Kamyavan itself, and it's described there are 7 gates. Kamyavan was a very large city previously, 5,000 years ago, on a par with not like Mathura or something, but it was a very large township within the Vraja-mandala. And it's described there were 7 gates leading in to the township of Kam. And this is Dig Gate, and there's Lanka Gate, Emara Gate, and there's Devi Gate, Delhi Gate, Ramaji Gate, and Mathura Gate. So all these gates are there for us to have darshan of today. They're very impressive. This whole township of Kamyavan is very all of the townships in Vrindavan have their particular characteristics and moods and specialities. It's like Nandagan has its flavor, Varshana has its flavor, and Kamyavan definitely has its flavor. So now we've been to Dig, Adi-badri, we've been to the slide, we've been to Vyomasura's cave, we've been to Bhojana-thali, and we've seen the footprint of Baladev, and we've taken darshan of the Carana-pahadi, the footprints on top of the mountain, and we've also seen Luki Kund. So in a very, very short space of time, today we've walked through these pastime places. So because our time is not unlimited, I've tried to pack everything in very tightly. But if you have been on this parikrama before, you'll just be remembering by the hints that I'm indicating about the different places. And if you haven't been, perhaps you might catch some of the flavor or the mood of the joyful flavor, particularly of Sakyabhav. But the pastimes that I was telling initially about the deities all resting here for some days, and then their temples being established. That was Govinda-devi, Gopinath, and Madan Mohan, before they were carried out of Braj altogether to Jaipur in Rajasthan. And all the deities except Madan Mohan, he stopped in Karoli. He didn't go to Jaipur like the others. But Vrinda-devi herself, she was very stubborn about not leaving Braj. The pujaris could not, so many of them tried to lift her onto the carts. She would not shift. She couldn't be shifted. So then, of course, they understood she doesn't want to leave. So Vrinda-devi is still present today in a temple alongside, I think it's Gopinath, and it's Jagannath Dev is also, yes, that's Vrinda-devi. So Pujapa Nemi Maharaj is going to describe her glories. And if we look at the other deities there, we can just look at have a darshan of the altar. Tarun, there's other deities here. Move along, there's some pictures. I thought we saw some pictures. Or perhaps we had darshan just now in the video. That's what I was remembering. So we had darshan of her, and then we moved along to the next, the center altar, and then we moved along to the end altar where we saw Lord Jagannath. And I think it's Gornitai are on the end altar. So this is where we've come now, and our dear Bhaktivedanta Nemi Maharaj is going to describe the glories now of Vrinda-devi, Tulsi Devi. So Kamyavan Darshans Ki Jai, Gold Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol.
Maharaji, thank you so much. That was really immersive.
We were running, Yashoda.
We were running. I was running with my fingers on the pen.
Up and down mountains.
I'm just about got down from that hill. Just a few quick questions. That meaning of dig was really amazing about how Krishna plays his flute, and the sound vibration loosens the clothes of the gopis, etc., etc. It's very beautiful. Is that actually, you didn't highlight whether that was actually a pastime that happened there? Is that the pastime?
Yes, well, that's where the township derives its name from. It derives its name from Krishna having that effect with the sound of his flute on the gopis, how they, their clothes, and particularly their bashfulness, Yashoda is described, that their bashfulness was loosened. This is the...
I was trying to establish it happened there in that location. It wasn't just referring to that as a quality. It actually
No. It happened there in that very place, yes.
Yes. And then I got a bit confused with Adi-badri, and I think I got him confused with Badrinath, the grandson of Krishna. So Badri, can you just explain?
No. Vraja-mandala, the grandson of Krishna, has nothing to do. No, I haven't mentioned his name. I haven't mentioned his name today. That's
who is that personality? Adi-badri.
We're celebrating Badrinath, the manifestation of Krishna during such a yuga that resides in the Himalayan mountains. So he was performing, when he manifested in such a yuga, he was performing austerities in the Himalayan mountains. So that same personality is remembered while we're here. It's not a past. When we're here, Prabhu, in Adi-badri, we're basically just remembering all of these great rishis from the Himalayan mountains that reside in this area, because that's the nature of Badrik Ashram. Badrik Ashram today, principally, you have to drive right up to the top of the Himalayan mountains. That's like near the origin of the Ganga. Gangotri is quite close by. It's the cave today of Vyasadev's cave is right up in Badrinath, but that's like, a few thousand miles away from Vrindavan. So Krishna manifested that whole Badrik Ashram right here in Vraja-mandala.
Gotcha.
And
Understood.
it really is the same place.
And you referred to the 5 deities that escaped the Muslims, one of which is Vrinda-devi, who our beloved Nemi Maharaj is going to talk about in a minute. Who were the other 4 deities that were moved?
Radha Damodar, Gopinath, Madan Mohan, Govinda-dev, and Radha Gopinath. And even other deities, perhaps Nemi Maharaj remembers.
Cool. Okay. That the rishi who cursed
Pulastya
Bimalakunda.
Rishi.
Yeah,
Pulastya Rishi. Pulastya Rishi. Pulastya. He's one of the sons of Lord Brahma directly, one of the firstborn sons. He's the person who carried Govardhan through the airwaves and requested his father, Dronacharya, if he could take him.
And did that demon merge with the body of Krishna, or was it another kind of liberation?
No, that demon was liberated from the curse by having darshan of Krishna. And then I haven't read what happened to him after that, but he was liberated
from the curse. I thought he was given liberation. Okay, sorry.
Well, he was liberated from his curse, and he had darshan of Krishna because he was killed by Krishna. So having darshan of Krishna is something exceptional. I'm quite sure his future birth would have been filled with auspiciousness.
And Margie, we were going
he represents, by the way, while you're on that topic, he represents, it says, killing Vyoma illustrates the need to give up the company of thieves and other rascals, as well as cheating impostors who disguise themselves as devotees. So there are impostors amongst us, my brothers, who are cheating sometimes, that we have to be appreciative are there in the guise of devotees. And this is the reason why Krishna killed this Vyomasura, purified this conception.
Almost at the end of these questions. The game, we were going so fast, I didn't understand that game. Can you just quickly explain the game?
There were thieves who were delegated to steal the sheep. The sheep were cowherd boys, and the thieves were cowherd boys, and there was a group of boys who were going to judge who was the thief, or who was the biggest thief. They were going to take them to the court, so to speak. They had created a play court, and they were going to see who had stolen the most sheep. So Vyomasura came and stole practically all the cowherd boys in the game. I mean, it's cute. Krishna's really good with games.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And then you said about driving into Kamyavan, and you passed a second something? I couldn't pick that up.
Carana-pahadi. Carana-pahadi means the footprints. So we climb up a steep hill, and we can see right across the valley, and we see Luki Kund, and there's footprints of Krishna. There's a shrine at the very top of the hill, and we have darshan there of Krishna. It was in the video also.
Okay, well, we're bang on time, 11:10. So
now, our dear Nemi Maharaj, he's going to take us to Vrinda-devi as well as Kamesvara Mahadeva. Kamesvara Mahadeva also resides here, of course, because all the deities reside. So Shivji is always very close by. So these two incredibly potent places, dear Bhaktivedanta Nemi Maharaj will enlighten us on these.
well, welcome, Maharaji. Good morning.
Hare Krishna. Do I have leave to go ahead?
Yes.
All yours, Maharaj.
Amagyanatimirandhasya Gyananjana Shlakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Samaniti Name. Namam Vishnupadaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayaniti Name. Namam Vishnupadaya Gaura Prestaya Bhutale Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Hariti Iti Name. Vanchaka Pataribhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaivacha Utitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Gurudev and his dear representatives have brought us to Kamyavan. Srila Gurudev, we've heard about Kamyavan. Kam means actually transcendental desire. Transcendental desire to please Krishna by all means. This is Madhurya Ras. Madhurya Ras is like all restraints are removed and the gopis are pleasing Krishna by all means. And Srila Gurudev, he also said that, be careful when you're in Kamyavan, because Kamyavan fulfills all desires. Just like Nama Chintamani Krishna, Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. The holy name fulfills all desires. So if we chant with desires, material desires, holy name will give us, fulfill those desires. If we come to Kamyavan with material desires, so Kamyavan will fulfill those desires as well. So we have to be careful. We always have to be careful. And in connection with Vrinda-devi here, Srila Gurudev gives a very special significance to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instructions to those Goswamis that they had to find the deities and they had to find the pastime places, the lost pastime places. So at that time, people thought that Kamyavan was actually Vrindavan. Srila Gurudev explains. So he says, actually, it's not possible. Chirgat and Vangshivat and all these places are actually in Kamyavan. So the 6 Goswamis going to Vrindavan was a very important transition, I suppose, from the mood of worshipping Kamyavan as Vrindavan to establishing all the pastime places of Radha Krishna and gopis, gopas, and like that in Vrindavan itself. Shri Vrinda-devi here, we had her darshan on the video and we just saw picture as well. Amazingly impressing, I don't know, impressing in the sense of sanskar. Very, very sweet, enchanting deity. Devotees love to come here. One of my most favorite deities in Vrindavan, that darshan is so beautiful. And we're singing the Shri Vrinda-devi Ashtakam there. Vrinda-devi is actually Yogamaya in Madhurya Ras. So Purnamasi and Purnamasi and Vrinda-devi, they work together. Purnamasi is Yogamaya also, but she's an elderly ascetic lady. So she's like, she's on the edge of Madhurya Ras and she facilitates Madhurya Ras, but she doesn't actually take part in Madhurya Ras. But Vrinda-devi is right there. So Krishna, she's the presiding deity of Vrindavan by default. Srimati Radhika is the queen of Vrindavan, Brajeshwari, but she's given dominion to Vrinda-devi. And sometimes Krishna falsely claims that, oh, I am the king of Vrindavan because Vrinda is my wife. Then Vrinda refutes this. They call Vrinda, Vrinda, you're married to this fellow, black fellow? No, nobody wants to marry him. No, nobody wants to marry him. Everybody wants to be in paramour mood with Krishna. So Vrinda-devi is the stage manager for pastimes in Madhurya Ras, means in the amorous mood. Conjugal, actually, the word conjugal is used, but conjugal really means husband and wife. So amorous is more appropriate. So she's the stage manager for pastimes in amorous mood. And she arranges like in Pallava Pushpa Bringa Mrigadi Bimalakunda Kunja. So she's arranging where the bumblebees go, where the flowers bloom, where the trees are, where the deer go, everything. Stage manager, everything she's arranging to make very, very beautiful arrangements for Radha and Krishna. But Vrindavan is decorated with bees, decorated with flowers, decorated with deer, decorated with in so many ways. And especially at midday, she acts as a messenger. And then at midday, when Radha and Krishna go to Radha-kund, so this is their very special time. Radha-kund is special just for Srimati Radhika's group. Nobody else goes there. So Vrinda-devi, she calls the forest goddesses and gives them services. And then she called the six seasons in Braj. And so she calls the goddesses of those seasons and she gives them their direction. That rainy season will go on the east, and then the Himanta will go on the south, autumn on the west, winter on the north, and then the springtime season in the trees, because then the trees are decorated with flowers, aromatic flowers, make such a beautiful arrangement. These trees are not in Shantaras. They're also in Madhurya Ras. Just like when Radha and Krishna perform the very, very beautiful pastimes, the vines are also smiling. Their desires are also satisfied. They're waiting, oh, when will Krishna pick my flowers and decorate Srimati Radhika with those flowers? And then summer season goes into the waters of Radha-kund to make a very nice special arrangement. So all this, Vrinda-devi is arranging. There are 5 types of Saki. Krishna has 5 types of Saki. There's Sakis, Nitya Sakis, Pran Sakis, Preshta Sakis, and Parama Preshta Sakis. So Sakis, they're all love Radha and Krishna, but the Sakis are especially attracted by Krishna. They're especially inclined to Krishna. And they include, Vrinda-devi is one of them. And they include also Dhanishta and Kundalita. So they're inclined to Krishna, but they're extremely affectionate towards Srimati Radhika, and they want to facilitate the pastimes. I haven't ever seen any. Vrinda-devi is always there in the center, but I haven't actually seen. There's allusions that, oh, maybe she'd like to associate with Krishna, but I never saw any description of how she's associating with him in that way. So Vrinda-devi is a very important personality. Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is enlightening us in his Vrinda-devi Ashtakam. Rasa Bilasho Vasatish Vrinda Vane Tradishangri Sarojaseva Labhya Chapungsam Kripaya Tavaiva Vrinde Namaste Charanarvindam. Even the desire to behold the rasa dance, to take part in the rasa dance, to attain residence in Vrindavan, to perform service to Radha and Krishna, it's attained by Shrimati Shri Vrinda-devi's mercy. And that's confirmed in the Tulsi Kirtan that we sang in ISKCON. It's a beautiful Tulsi Kirtan, that praying to Tulsi that by your grace, I want to become a resident of Vrindavan. I want to reside not just in Vrindavan, in the pleasure groves of Vrindavan, Vilas Kunja. And I also want to see the forms of Radha and Krishna. And I want to become a follower of the cowherd damsels of Braj. Please give me the qualification to perform devotional service and make me your own maidservant. And Srila Prabhupada gave us this prayer. What did we know? But it's like, it's like his mother, my Guru Maharaj's mother, Srila Prabhupada's mother. She ate when he was born, she started eating with her left hand. So she'd actually taken a vow that I will eat with my left hand until my son is old enough to ask me, what are you doing? Why are you eating with your left hand? So it was a mother's loving way of guarding his life. Why I'm saying this? Because it's an indirect thing. And then at some point he became old enough and noticed, why everybody's eating with their right hand? Why do you eat with your left hand? And then she could start eating with her right hand. So this indirect, Srila Prabhupada is leaving these clues. Yes, you're performing Vaidhi Bhakti, where you, talking to me, one time I asked him at the end of class, something about spiritual desires. He said, why are you asking about spiritual desires when your heart is full of material desires? And that was all he said. So yeah, we're full of material desires on the one hand, but on the other hand, he's leaving clues. It's like, what's that, treasure hunt? He's leaving clues, what the actual goal is. What are we up to? At some point, we'll wake up and think, oh, is that what Prabhupada is talking about? He left so many clues in his books. Srila Gurudev, when he left UK in 1996, he told me, you should read your Guru Maharaj's books. And that's all he said. He didn't give any more clues. And I read them and I found everything that Srila Gurudev had said, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj had said in his lectures. Everything was there in Prabhupada's books, and I'd read them and I hadn't understood. And then I understood, okay, if I want to understand Srila Prabhupada, then I have to follow Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj, Gurudev. I didn't even know Prabhupada's name. I thought his name was Bhaktivedanta. And, Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj. Swami because he's a sannyasi. No. Swami because that's his name. Bhaktivedanta's title. So, and Srila Gurudev, he says that darshan of Vrinda-devi is very rare. So this deity is actually one of the original deities. I don't know, I'm not sure, yeah. If you go to Jaipur, that you can have, we can get darshan of Radha Madan Mohan. But Vrinda-devi is the original deity installed by Vajranabha. Vajra means lightning. And Nabha means belly button. What's it called? Navel. Not Vajra, Vraja. And so this and Dauji, they're two of the original deities that Vajranabha installed. And we're very fortunate. Someone can confirm with me, maybe, what is the actual form of Vrinda-devi? I've heard that she's also in the form like the deity of Yogamaya that Sri Rupa Goswami is worshipped in Radha Govinda Dev, that temple in Vrindavan. You go down, There's a secret place you go down. So Yogamaya there is like, she looks like Durga sitting on the back of the lion or the tiger with many arms and like that. I don't know. Vrinda-devi is like, I've heard that it's like that. Chaitanya Maharaj, can you give him the power of speech? Chaitanya Maharaj. Okay, the Chitananda Prabhuji also.
The wife of Burijan Prabhu. You'll know Burijan Prabhu. So his wife, Jagatarini, she had darshan directly of the form on the other side of the cloths, etc. She used to go regularly there. And it's just a complete Durga Murti underneath, as you're saying. Not Purnamasi, not Yogamaya. It's a Durga Murti with all the 8 arms and the different weapons, etc. And then her, that is it a shellagram? What would you call it? Is the embodiment of her, the form that sits on top there of the Durga Murti. I don't know more than that. It's very mysterious.
Thank you, Chaitanya. Please, Chitananda Prabhuji, my Dandavat.
Well, I keep trying to unmute and it's not allowing.
Yes, but you're
We can hear you, Prabhu.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. It was Vishwambara Goswami told me, Divyara Brindaranya Kalpa Ramada, Srimada Ratnangara Singhasanasto. Singhasanasto. That verse of our Abhidaya is Divyara Brinda is Tulsi Aranya. The whole forest is Tulsi, and Radha and Krishna are sitting on the Singhasan. Who else sits on a lion? Singhasan. The throne is shaped like a lion with claws, and Radha Krishna is sitting on a lion. But also, flip-flop, who else is sitting on a lion? Is Durga Devi. So she's also saying, Sri Chakra Raja Singhasaneshwari. Singhasan, there's the same Singhasan, only she's sitting on a real lion. So it is a flip-flop. Figure out the rest.
Hare Krishna.
That's all.
Thank you, Chitananda Prabhuji.
Okay.
So privileged to have you with us. Wonderful. Thank you. That, while we're on that topic, on the old coins in England, you have a picture of Britannia with her trident, and there's a lion there, and she's got a shield. That's Durga. They were worshipping Mataji, worshipping the great mother. She's the Britannia, Britain. They used to worship Durga here. Changed a little. Okay, moving on. So, praying at the lotus feet of Vrinda-devi, Srila Gurudev, whenever he gave Harikatha, whenever I heard him give Harikatha, towards the end of his prayers, Bhaktya-vihina, aparada-lakshay, kshipta-stikama-dita-rangamajay, kripa-maitam, sharanam prapanna, Vrinde namaste, charanarabindam. Because I don't have any bhakti, aparada-lakshay, because I'm committing millions and millions of offenses, and I've been thrown into the waves of lust and anger. Lust doesn't just mean sexual desire. My Guru Maharaj said, lust means material desires which cannot be fulfilled. Actually, material desires can't be fulfilled. Our Gurudev said, what's the point of having material desires? Because if you fulfill them, you'll just have more material desires. And if you don't fulfill them, then you become angry. So better not have any material desires. So we can pray at the lotus feet of these beloved, very dear and merciful and kind Braj-basis, that they'll kindly, what is the medicine? The medicine is taste for service, especially taste for Braj service. And then as we attain taste, so these other things will just disappear. So praying at lotus feet of Shri Vrinda-devi, that we can get this transcendental mood of service to Radha and Krishna, following in the footsteps of their eternal associates. Shri Vrinda-devi ki jai. Then, quite close to this temple of Vrinda-devi, there's a temple of Kamesvara. Kamesvara is a very wonderful form of Lord Shiva. So Kamesvara, it means that, on the one hand, it means that Shivji conquered Kamadev. Kamadev is Cupid. He's the embodiment of material desire to enjoy, and especially to enjoy opposite gender. So Kamadev had conquered everybody. Even Brahmaji, he manifested a pastime of being attracted by his own daughter. Narada Muni also, there's some pastime. He was boasting that, oh, I've conquered lust. And then Shri Vishnu said, oh, okay. And then there's a pastime where Narada Muni found that even he, by Vishnu's desire, he was also susceptible. So then Kamadev came and he thought, okay, now I'm going to agitate Shivji. And he fired his arrows at Shivji, but Shivji did not become conquered by lust, but he became angry. And he opened his third eye and just burnt Cupid completely. So therefore, Cupid is now Ananga. Anga means body. Ananga means nobody. So he's got not that he's a nobody, but he has a subtle body, but no gross body. So in that subtle body, he can come into everybody's hearts, and he's firing arrows, flower arrows, mango, and I don't remember the other flowers, but anyway, 5 flower arrows. And in this way, everybody, almost everyone, becomes attracted to their opposite gender, and this tight bond comes, which is the shackles that bind us in this material world. No bars. There's no bars in the material world, but the shackles of sexual desire is what keeps us here. It's the most intense material attachment, which is relatively easily removed by the taste for loving devotional service. So this is a very beautiful form. We had darshan, I think there was a photograph, Kamesvara Mahadeva. So there's a nice form there. We can offer water, massage. Shivji is very, very kind. We don't have to be ritually clean to come and offer our obeisances and pour water, give abhishek, massage, and like this. So Kamesvara Mahadeva. And we can pray to Kamesvara Mahadeva that he'll kindly burn up these anarthas, burn up these material desires, burn up our desire for enjoyment, and of course headed by enjoyment for sexual enjoyment. But Kamesvara has another meaning. It can mean that Shivji, Kamesvara Mahadeva, it can be Mahadeva, who is the Lord of Kam, because he's controlling Kam. He's burnt Kam up. He was still subject to anger. But Kamesvara, just like Gopishwara. Gopishwara, literally, it looks as though it means Mahadev, who is the Lord of the Gopis. But Mahadev is not the Lord of the Gopis. When he appeared in his Gopi form at the time of the Rasa Leela, did he command the Gopis? No, they're coming up and they're slapping him. Kucha. Who are you? What's your name? What's your service? Where do you live? Where do you come from? And he couldn't say anything. And either Purnamasi or Krishna himself had to come and rescue Shivji. So he's not the Lord of the Gopis. Gopishwara Mahadev means Mahadev who is lorded over by the gopis. They are his lord. Similarly, Rameshwara Mahadeva, Shri Ramji, he installed deity of Shivji. And so then it was called Rameshwara Mahadeva. And the common people thought that Ram, yeah, he's Kshatriya, so he's worshipping Lord Shiva, and we're all worshipping Lord Shiva because Lord Shiva is the Supreme Lord. And then the demigods came and protested, no, 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 no. Both Shiva and Ramachandra are the Lord. And then Shivji himself burst out of the deity. He said, no, Ram is my Lord, Rameshwara. Ram is my Lord. So similarly here, Kameshwara, Kam also means not just the material Cupid, but there's also transcendental Cupid. So for example, when we receive Diksha mantras, so we receive the Kam Gayatri. Gopal mantra is for all the rasas. Krishna, Govinda, Gopijana Vallabha. It's for all the rasas, for Sakya-ras, Vatsalya-ras, and Madhurya-ras. But Kam Gayatri is only for Madhurya-ras. Now, ostensibly, it looks as though it's so first of all, the word beginning with Vid means we know Cupid, Kamadev. So what do we know about Kamadev? Well, we know Krishna's Kamadev. He's the transcendental Cupid. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's described how that transcendental Cupid is worshipped by this Kam Gayatri. And we know the pastime where Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he's reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, and Chaitanya Charitamrita says there's 24.5 syllables. 24.5? He's counting, there's 25. Where's the half? He was desperate actually to find out. He was prepared to finish his life because he says, what's the use of living if I can't get darshan of the deities? And then Srimati Radhika herself appeared in a dream and said, no, you consult this scripture, and explains that ya followed by vi, that's a half syllable. So then the mantra goes on, so we know that about. So Sambandha Abhideya Prayoja. Abhideya, what's the process? Meditating, Dhimahi. What do we meditate on? Well, material Cupid is firing flower arrows at everybody. And this transcendental Cupid, Krishna, is firing arrows. So what are those arrows that he's firing, especially at the gopis? So Srila Gurudev has emphasized, this is Krishna's personal qualities: form, taste, touch, smell, sound. And Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami elaborately presents this at the end of Chaitanya Charitamrita. He's got sometimes a whole chapter how Krishna is attracting the gopis by one of these arrows. He's got one verse for all of those arrows, and then each of them, how Krishna's attracting the gopis by his touch, how he's attracted by his taste, how he's attracted by his sound, like this. Deep, very, very deep. So this is Abhideya. Dhimahi means meditating. That's what we're supposed to be doing. And then what's the goal? Oh, he should be manifest. He should come. Not in any ordinary way. Pra. Pra means in a very, 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 very special way. What is that special way that we want this transcendental Cupid to manifest to us? He should engage us in his loving pastimes. And in what capacity? Shama Sundari Shikandi Sekara Smerahasa Murali Manohara Radhika Rasikamang Kripanide Sapriya Charana Kinkari Kurum. He should engage us as Kinkari to Srimati Radhika's lotus feet. So Shivji, he's like Bhojana-thali on the one hand. He's the Lord of the ghosts. very bewildered entities in the mode of ignorance. They're worshipping him and they're becoming elevated. But he himself has divine taste. In Jaiva Dharma, it's quoting, and I don't know which Purana it's from, there's a conversation between Vrinda-devi and Shivji. And Vrinda-devi is initiating Shivji into the moods of Braj and instructing him how to meditate on service to Krishna in his beautiful gopi form. So Shivji is really Kamesvara. On the one hand, he's defeating the material Cupid. And on the other hand, he's completely submissive as a loving servant to the transcendental Cupid, Krishna. So, Srila Gurudev has emphasized, so Krishna is Madan, he's the transcendental Cupid. But he's only Madan Mohan. He only bewilders the material Cupid when he's with Srimati Radhika, Radha Madan Mohan. And Srimati Radhika herself is Madan Mohan Mohini. She's the one, Manmata Manmata. Krishna is described, Manmata Manmata. When he's with thee, means churning. So Cupid is Manmat. He's churning the minds of everybody in the material world. Madly in love, bewildered, totally mildered. But when Krishna appears, after he's left the gopis and after they've sung their hearts and souls out in Gopi Gita, so he appears and he's Manmat Manmat. So he's churning the heart of the one who churns the hearts of everybody else. And Srimati Radhika, she's churning the heart of Krishna. So so Shivji, he can help us to enter into these moods, especially here in Kamyavan. So I'm offering my humble obeisances, Lord Sri to Shri Kamesvara Mahadeva also, that he'll kindly, on the one hand, destroy this material lust and desire for enjoyment and all these material obstacles, and on the other hand, kindly give taste for service to Shri Radha and Krishna and their associates in Vrindavan. Hare Krishna, Vanchakaptaribhasya Kripasanidabhavita. Putitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Anduvats Maharaji, thank you so much. Thank you for that very, very thorough and also very esoteric explanation of both Vrinda-devi, particularly Kama Ishvara. That was very, very deep. Any particular source texts that you advise us to go to if we want to revisit that?
We have to take some time out and just understand what the mantras are telling us. That the Gayatri, it's a meter. It's the first meter of all the, Krishna says in Bhagavad-Gita, of meters, I'm Gayatri. So all of those Gayatris, Guru Gayatri, Gora Gayatri, and Kam Gayatri, they're all same thing. Sambandha Videya Prayojana. It's describing something we have some knowledge, vid, and then it's describing some process, Dimahi, meditating, what we're meditating on, and then it's a prayer for a specific goal. So we have to, I remember Gurudev speaking specifically in Italy, and I think it must be 97. So he says there's 5 stages in chanting a mantra. Nyas, mantra chintartan, sampati, sharanagati, and atmanivedanam. So nyas, one of the meanings of nyas is to take a solid vow that I will chant my Gayatri mantras, I'll take archaman, a particular way of chanting. And then next one, mantra chintartan, mantrartha chintan, excuse me. So meditating on the meanings of the mantras. And Srila Gurudev is actually, we have to find this ourselves, really. Srila Gurudev asked his Guru Maharaj, what do these mantras mean? And his Guru Maharaj said, you chant the mantras and they'll reveal themselves. Like this. Pujapa Chudani Maharaj.
Was that the other three stages?
Nyas, Mantrartha Chintan, Sampatti, which means I understand that these are my worshipable deities and I offer my obeisances to them. And then Sharanagati means full 6 processes of surrender. And then Atmanivedanam, that Atmanivedanam means totally surrendering Atma. That will come when we realize Atma, when we realize Sarup, and we're actually serving, getting direct darshan and actually serving them in Sarup. Give, please, yes. Tridani Maharaj, Hare Krishna.
Page 54 of Bhajan Rahasya explains exactly what you're explaining, Maharaj.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I see Madhavat Prabhuji has put that up in the chat also. Thank you.
Ah, okay, good.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Dandavat Pranam, beautiful. Okay, so we're going to move on to our penultimate section of the day. We're going to be going to Dharma Kund, and we're going to hear for 15 minutes from our dear guest star today, Shriman Prakashapa Prabhu. And I just need to find you actually somewhere on this. Do you come on as Prakash? Oh no, you have a different name on here, right?
No, P. Prakash Atma, he's there. Just on the list.
There you go, I've got him. Yeah, lovely. Okay, you can unmute, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Welcome.
Yeah, okay. Om Agyanati Mirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Shakshur Meritamina Tasme Shri Guruve Namaha Gaurave Gorachandraya Radhikaye Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tat Bhaktaya Namo Namaha. So my Dandavat Pranam to my beloved spiritual masters, the Diksha Guru, Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, and also my Shiksha Guru, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. My obeisances to all of the Tridandi sannyasi headed by Tridandi Swami and Bhaktivedanta Nemi Maharaj. My Dandava Pranam to Achyutananda Prabhu and to Yashodananda and all the listener. So we heard so many nice ras description of this Kamyavan. Kamyavan is actually a very beautiful forest, and no wonder that it was believed to be Vrindavan at one point. So here we are going to Dharma-kund. Dharma-kund, so it's lies in the eastern part of Kamyavan, and Sri Narayan is praised here as Dharma. So there are many different places to see in Dharma-kund, but mainly it is related to the story of the Pandavas. When the Pandavas were exiled in the forest, they came here to Kamyavan, and at first they settled there, but they couldn't find water. They were very thirsty, and so they needed water for cooking and for drinking. So Maharaj Yudhishthir, then he sent Bhimasen. Bhimasen, actually, he went and he saw some birds flying to and from a direction. So he followed there. He guessed that there must be some pond, some lake. And he arrived to a lake, and he was about to fill his pot of water when the Yaksha came and told him, please answer my questions before you drink, otherwise you will die. But because Bhimasena, he was very thirsty, he didn't listen, and he, with the palm of his hand, he took some water. He was about to drink the water when he fell down, dead. So the Pandavas were waiting for him to come back, and when he didn't, Yudhishthira Maharaj, he sent Arjuna. And Arjuna, he went there, he found the senseless body of his brother, Bhimasena, and the same thing happened to him. This Yaksha manifested himself and asked him, told him, please answer my questions before you drink, otherwise you will die. But the same thing, he was thirsty, he wanted to drink, and he fell down dead. And then Yudhishthira Maharaj, he sent Nakula, Sahadev, and the same thing happened to them. So there was only Draupadi and Yudhishthira left at the camp, and Yudhishthira Maharaj, he decided to go. He found his brother next to the lake. They were all unconscious, all dead. And he also had this apparition of the Yaksha. So Maharaj Yudhishthira, unlike his brothers, he was thirsty, but he said, yes, I will answer your queries. Yudhishthira he's called Dharma Putra. He's a very, very pious person. Yud means to fight. This from the verb to fight. So he designates a warrior, and stira means firm or fixed. And he was known to have a very good conduct and being very righteous and very efficient in administration. And so his father, we know his father Pandu died, and he was supposed to be the king because Dhritarashtra, being the oldest son, he was blind, so he could not be the king. But Pandu died, and the 5 Pandavas, they were young, so they couldn't be king. But when he grew in age and wisdom, Dhritarashtra had no choice but to anoint Yudhishthira as the new king. And this Yudhishthira, he made a big Rajasuya in Indraprastha. And he invited everybody. He was also feeding 1,000 of Brahmin, sumptuous food in golden dishes. And Duryodhana, who is the son of Dhritarashtra, one of the son of Dhritarashtra, he was very, very jealous, envious of the wealth of Yudhishthira. So he devised a plan to defeat the Pandavas. And he invited Yudhishthira Maharaj for a game of dice. And you know the story. I'm not going to go into the details. This game of dice, of course, they were cheating. And Yudhishthira Maharaj, he lost everything, including his own brothers and Draupadi. We know that Draupadi was dragged by the hair by Dushasan, and they tried to strip her naked, but Krishna saved their chastity by manifesting as a sari, endless sari. We know the story. But so they were, they played this game of dice, this Yudhishthira. He played twice and he lost everything, and they had to go in exile. So he's known to be very pious, and he never refused anything. And this Yaksha is asking some question that resembles some riddles, because you have to guess what the answer is. So one of the first questions he's asking is, who raises the sun? And Yudhishthira Maharaj says, the Lord raised the sun. It is not like there's a chariot of the sun going in the sky, but actually it is by Lord's grace that the sun is shining. Then another question is, what is heavier than the earth? And Yudhishthira Maharaj answer, one's mother. One's mother gives the nourishment, just like the earth gives nourishment, but the mother gives directly. You don't have to work for hard to get food. And also, like the earth, the mother is giving birth. And so she's heavier, or she's more important than the earth. What is higher than the sky? The answer is one's father. We say that the sky is the limit, but actually the father, he's giving protection, he's giving everything. And so no one can be worshipped in one's surrendering as much as one's father. Then another question is, what travels faster than the wind? And Yudhishthira Maharaj answered, the mind. We think of something, like we were describing the beautiful description of Vrinda-devi. Of course, we saw the picture, and we see it also in the Parikrama book. But simply by describing this beautiful deity, when we have been there, by mind, we're already there. And that's the idea. That's the idea of traveling, even by machines, that we can, by mind, go there. So the mind travels very, very fast, faster than the wind. And then another question of the yaksha, what is more numerous than grasses on the earth? And Yudhishthira Maharaj answered, the desires. We heard just now how you fulfill one desire and another one comes. So the desires are just as numerous than grasses on the earth. What is the best kind of dharma? There are many kinds of dharma that are prescribed, but mercy is the most important one. If you cannot show mercy, even if you have justice, if you cannot show mercy, then your dharma will be incomplete. What is the best kind of forbearance? To tolerate the dualities of life, like heat and cold, happiness and distress, profit or loss, birth and death. If we can be tolerating all this different duality, then this is called forbearance. Then the yaksha is asking, what is the worst disease? And Yudhishthira Maharaj answered, anger. In Bhagavad-Gita, we read kama esha, krodha esha. That first is kama. We were talking about Kamyavan and Kamesvara Mahadeva and just Kamadev. But if one's desire is not fulfilled, especially material desire, then it transforms into anger. And with anger, we can become a demon. We can break everything. We yell, we insult people, we're ready to fight, we're ready to break everything. That is the worst enemy, anger. And it's difficult for people who are very lusty to control their anger. What is the worst disease? Asked the yaksha. The worst disease, said Yudhishthira, is the greed, because we always want more and more and more. Who is a holy man? Asked the yaksha. A holy man is one who does good to all. I remember Srila Prabhupada in one lecture, he was saying regarding this verse, who is a sadhu? And one of the quality of the sadhu is to be surit. Surit means a friend. But actually, Srila Prabhupada broke the word according to the Sandhi. Su means good, rit, heart. One who has a good heart. The sadhu is someone who has a good heart. We've been describing the glories of so many different devotees. And one quality that they have is that they are very dear to everybody. Because if they were not dear, then we would not follow them. Even if they're very knowledgeable, even if they seem to have some kind of realization, if they were very harsh and not kind, we will not be able to follow. Of course, sometimes the pure devotee exhibiting some harsh behavior. And Nemi Maharaj was saying how he asked a question to Prabhupada about spiritual desire, and Prabhupada said, why are you asking about spiritual desire when your heart is full of material desire? Something like this. And I remembered that's why we were afraid of asking Prabhupada any question, especially if we were not very close to him, because often he will answer something like this. What kind of a stupid question are you asking? Sometimes he will answer like this. And everything is in my books. And as a matter of fact, it is. So anyway, holy man, but we knew the Prabhupada was a kind person, very kind, he was dear to us, you know, your ever well-wisher. He was always signing the letters like this, your ever well-wisher. There was no one who could be more merciful to us than him. Who is not a holy man? One who cannot control his senses. One will become a cruel person, or he will also play duplicity if he cannot control his senses. Who is happy? Asked the yaksha. And Yudhishthira Maharaj answered, those who have no depth, those who are not living in a foreign land, and those who can digest their food. If you have debts, you're not really peaceful because you're always worried that they're going to call you or they're going to seize your properties and everything. And if you're in a foreign land, if you have to live in a foreign land, not like if you moved in Godrumadweep, that is a different thing. But if you're in a foreign land, like you don't understand the language and you want to go home. And what is the use of eating palatable food if you can't digest? You're not going to be happy if you cannot digest the food. Then the Yaksha is asking, what is life true path? What is the path we should follow? And this is a famous verse that Yudhishthira is answering. Tarko pratishta shrutayo vibina nasa vrishi yasyamatam na binam. Tarka, logic, and argument, they are apratishta. We know pratishta. Pratishta means pride, but it means also a solid foundation. And tarka has no solid foundation because we can guess so many things. When I say I think, someone else can say, but I think differently. So it has no solid ground. And Shrutayo Vibhina, whatever we hear from Shastra, we read from Shastra, it is Vibhina. There's many different instruction. Nasa Vrishi Yasyamatam Nabinam. You cannot be a rishi unless you have your own philosophy, unless your philosophy differs from someone else's philosophy. So you cannot rely as absolute truth on this. And Dharmasya Tattvam Nihitam Guhayam. The Dharma is very hidden. It's very difficult to understand. Mahajano Yenagata Sapanta. Only the paths that are shocked out about the Mahajan actually can give us the real meaning of Dharma, the real goal of life. And it's a matter of fact. You may read all the Upanishads. You may read all the Vedas. You may have a great philosophical mind, and you may have a lot of logic. You will not be able to guess what is life ultimate's goal unless you have a self-realized soul. Of course, the self-realized soul also use logic and also use Shastra, but it is on account of the self-realized soul that you can guess the ultimate goal of life. Then the two last questions are very interesting for us. What is the greatest wonder? The greatest wonder, Yudhishthira.
We've gone over time. Do you need a little bit more time, or can you wrap up?
Well, I just finished this. Just two questions.
Okay.
Yeah. So the Maharaj Yudhishthira answers that the greatest wonder is that even though we see people dying every day, we think that it will not happen to us. This is so true, because the spirit soul, of course, is eternal. So we don't have the sense that we can die. But we also are so much in illusion of thinking that what we live here is the real thing, that we completely forget. In my profession, I have led more than 200 funeral rites, and I can see some people, they become totally overwhelmed with grief, crying and crying and crying when someone dies, even if that person is very old. And sometimes I hear some people saying, oh, he was still young. He was 80 or 90 years old, and they still think he's young. But this is the illusion. Or sometimes they will say, they will lament, oh, poor fellow, he has died. Just like if death was an accident, like if it was not supposed to happen. They don't think it's going to happen to them. Of course, when they're facing the death of a relative, then they can have this vision. Yes, death is coming. But usually they don't think like this. They think we just eat, drink, and be merry. And tomorrow you will die, but they forget that tomorrow can be today. So this is the greatest wonder. And the last question is also related to this one. What is the news? What is the news today? If you just look in a newspaper, or if you open up the stupid TV box, then what is the news? Catastrophes, always catastrophes. how this death is everywhere. Time is eating everybody. Time is like a big frying pan, and we're all there frying, but we don't even notice it. I heard, it's a very cruel thing, but those people who like to eat frogs. I know the French people, they like to eat frog legs. That's why they call froggies. But they boil the frog in warm water, not in boiling water, so that the frog will not know that it is being boiled. They will think, oh, this is very enjoyable. This is life. This is like lukewarm. This is nice. But actually, by doing this, they're putting them to sleep, and gradually they die. And even because they saw illusion, if you apply this to the human beings, they saw illusion. Even when you are in boiling water, you still think, oh, this is like very nice jacuzzi with bubble. But actually, this is the greatest illusion. This is what is newsworthy. So the Yudhishthira Maharaj answered all those questions, and then he said, you have answered very good. So you can choose one of your brother that can be revived. And who do you choose? So Yudhishthira Maharaj, he said, Nakula. And then the Yaksha is very, very surprised. Why do you say Nakula? Why don't you choose Arjuna or Bhimasena, the very great warrior? And Maharaj Yudhishthira answers, he said, because I am the son of Kunti. My father has two wives, Kunti and Madri, and I'm the son of Kunti. And it is right, according to Dharma, that one son of Madri should also survive. So this Yaksha was very pleased. He said, because you have answered everything, and very pleasingly, I will revive all of your other brothers. This Yaksha, sometimes it said that the Yaksha is a servant of Kubera, but also it can mean a spirit. In the Kena Upanishad, for example, there's a Yaksha that challenge all the gods to just see or burn or blow a little straw, and they cannot. And this Yaksha is actually Bhagavan. So this Dharmaraj, sometimes it is called Yamaraj, but Bhagavan, actually Narayan, is the real Yamaraj. So this is the place, Dharma-kund. They have a wonderful place. And a little further, there's another kund, which I will not be able to talk about. It's called Bimalakund. There's also two stories about Bimalakund, and it's linked to Kam, the spiritual Kam, because Krishna has danced Rasa Lila. But I will not be able to say it because my time is up. Thank you for bearing with me. Panchakalpa tarubhyacha kripa sindhu bhyayavacha patitanam pavadebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah.
Harry Bol, very complete, very thorough. Hilarious you mentioned about frogs, but at the same time, we are totally without compassion, and yet we call ourselves cultured. We're all doing this across the whole world. What we're doing to animals is just
horrible,
beyond any conception of suffering. So we're now going to move to our last section before kirtan and closing, back to our beloved Sripad Bhaktivedanta Sridandi Maharaj, who I think is going to close out with Bimalakund and Adi-badrinath. Is that correct, Maharaj?
No, just Bimalakund. We've already been to Adi-badri on the way here.
We've just been. Yeah, I was
wondering. We went on the way there, so we won't go on the way back.
I asked you a question about it as well.
Yes.
Okay,
so
please carry on.
All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Thank you so much, Prakashat Mahaprabhu, for that extensive description of the Yaksha's conversation with Yudhishthira Maharaj. Ecstatic. And yes, Bimalakund has been left for me to describe, but we have very brief time. So I would like to read principally what Srila Gurudev has written, because everything is capsulated here in his description of the manifestation of Bimalakund. So according to the Garga Samhita, in ancient times, there was a glorious king named Bimala, and he lived in Champaka Nagari in the country of Sindhu. At first, none of his 6,000 queens bore him any children, but by the mercy of Sri Yajnavalkya Rishi, many beautiful girls took birth from the wombs of those queens. In their previous births, these girls had been the women of Janakpur, who had desired to obtain Sri Ramchandraji as their husband. The girls who took birth in King Vimala's home eventually reached a marriageable age. On the advice of Maharaj Yagyavalkya, the king sent his emissary to Mathurapuri to search for Sri Krishna, whom he deemed to be the suitable husband for his daughters. While on his way, the emissary was fortunate to meet grandfather Bhishma, who sent him to Sri Vrindavan. Since Sri Krishna was there at that time, upon arriving in Vrindavan, the royal emissary gave Sri Krishna King Vimala's letter of invitation, which requested Sri Krishna to come to Champaka Nagari to marry the princesses. After receiving Maharaj Vimala's invitation, Sri Krishna went to Champaka Nagari and brought the princesses back with him to this pleasing Kamyavan. He didn't bring them right into Gokul or Nandagan. He brought them to Kamyavan, situated within Vraja-mandala. He assumed as many forms as there were princesses and accepted them all. He performed rasa and other playful pastimes, krida, with these kumaris, thus fulfilling their long-cherished desire. The tears of happiness that flowed from their eyes filled a kund, which became known as Bimalakund. By bathing in this kund, all kinds of desires, both worldly and transcendental, are fulfilled, and one's heart becomes pure and instilled with Braj Bhakti. So this kund where we are standing now is a very, very large kund. It's extensive, and it's bigger than Kusum Sarovar practically. And we will do Parikrama around the kund, and we will hear pastimes such as Prakashatma Prabhu has just shared with us. But there are many other, as he alluded to, pastimes of the Pandavas, because they also stayed here in this very place. So this is a very powerful place. Now there's a second pastime here, which I'd like to read as well to for the devotees' pleasure. It is generally said that all the tirthas of the universe come to Braj during Chaturmasya, but that once Tirtharaj Pushkar failed to come. Sri Krishna remembered Yogamaya. Merely by his recollection, a very strong current of water shot out of the earth. Astonishingly, a supremely beautiful and completely pure Kishori appeared from that sacred current. Sri Krishna performed many kinds of games with that beautiful Kishori in the waters of that current. The Kishori completely satisfied Parama Rasik Sri Krishna with her beauty and pure prem-filled seva, and he gave her a boon. From today you will be known as Bimala-devi, and this kund will be named after you. By taking bath in this kund, one will receive 7 times the pious merit of taking bath in Tirtharaj Pushkar. So since then, this kund became known as Bimalakund. So these are 2 different reasons kund, Bimalakund, but they're all connected with totally rasik, beautiful, love-filled pastimes performed by Parama Rasik Sri Krishna with his Kishoris, with his gopis here. So this is the nature of this very place, and it's situated in Kamyavan, amongst all the other sacred places of this township. So we are so fortunate to come here today to have darshan of all these different holy places. So many, such a variety of pastimes, but particularly this last place, we always traditionally stay here. We take our prasadam here. Prasadam is always bought in a trailer here, and we all sit on the banks of Bimalakund and we honor prasadam. And then from this point, we will drive straight back to our Giridhari temple, because we've already been through Adi-badri and the different Carana-pahadis. So Bimalakund ki jai. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.
Go Premanande. Thank you so much. Thank you to Sripad Bhaktivedanta Nemi Maharaj, and thank you to Sripad Bhaktivedanta Tridandi Maharaj, and thank you so much also to Shriman Prakashatma Prabhu. That was amazing. We went to Dig, Bhajan-badri, Pichala-pahadi, Vyomasura's cave, Carana-pahadi, Vrinda-devi, Kamesvara Mahadeva, Dharma-kund, Bimalakund, Adi-badrinath, an incredible amount of places to cover in one session. A real feast. Tonight on our 6 p.m. program, we'll be visiting all the same places again, but this time with Srimati Shamrani Didi and Srimati Radhika Manchanda Didi. So that will be another relishable experience if you want to have a second dose. Tomorrow, it's really nice actually how some days it's like locations and leelas. Some days are charyas and getting their mercy, and other days is Damodarastakam. It's a very nice combination. So tomorrow, I think we're mainly focusing on Damodarastakam, and we'll be back at the same time. So we will now close out with our dear Manaska Swamiji, who I just need to unmute, and I'll get the lyrics up on screen for you. I'll share the lyrics on screen.
Before you do that, Yashoda, I have a question.
Yes.
Or more of a request. There were some pictures we didn't look at. I was wondering if Maharaj wanted to quickly take us through them.
Yes, go through it. Do it now. Don't say anything else. Just do it, Tarun. Pull them up on the screen. Yeah. So we already saw this at Adi-badri. Keep going, Tarun. Where is that? Is Nemi Maharaj here still?
Kamesvara Mahadeva.
Oh, yes, Kameshwar. Inside that building is Kameshwar. We circumambulate inside there. Yes, yes, this is all the devotees there. Okay, carry on. Kameshwar Mahadeva Ki Jai. Vyomasura's cave, we've already seen. Vrinda-devi, yes. Oh, no. This is Madan Mohan. I think Madan Mohan is...
Govinda-dev is...
Radha Govinda-dev, yes. Sorry, Radha Govinda-dev with Ananga Manjari again. On his left. The smaller deity, yes. Okay. And we saw this at Adi-badri. Yes. And that's the Shiva Lingam, I think. I have to just expand. Yes. And then there's Vrinda-devi. We've seen her. That's it, is it? Yes, that's Bimala-kund.
Well, big, huh? It's huge.
Huge, you know. This is a side view you showed her. That's the width, not the length. And another, yes, we saw this Bhojana-thali. Yes, there's a slide. Okay, Taranji.
Yeah, we've done those.
That's it. Yes, we've seen.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Okay, Taranji. Thank you.
All right, Manas, I'll ask you to unmute.
Manas is ready?
Yeah, I just got to get his lyrics up on screen. Just give me a sec.
I don't have the translation for this bhajan. It's old bhajan we used to sing in Radha-ramanji almost every night. राधे मेरी स्वामिनी और मैं राधे तेरो दास जन्म जन्म मोहे दीजियो श्री वृंदावन को बान श्री राधे गोविंदा मन भजले हरि का प्यारा नाम है श्री राधे गोविंदा मन भजले हरि का प्यारा नाम है हो गोपाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है नंदलाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है गोपाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है नंदलाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है श्री राधे गोविंदा मन भजले हरि का प्यारा नाम है। हो मोर मुकुट सिर गन बन माला, केसर तिलक लगाए, केसर तिलक लगाए। मोर मुकुट सिर गन बल माला, केसर तिलक लगाए, केसर तिलक लगाए। वृंदावन की कुंज गलिन में सबको नाच नचाए, हाँ सबको नाच नचाए। श्री राधे गोविंदा मन भजले हरि का प्यारा नाम है। श्री राधे गोविंदा मन भजले हरि का प्यारा नाम है। हो यमुना किनारे धेनु चरावे, माधव मदन मुरारी, माधव मदन मुरारी। मधुर मुरलिया जभी बजावे, हर ले सुध बुध सारी, ओ हर ले सुध बुध सारी। श्री राधे गोविंदा मन भजले हरि का प्यारा नाम है। गोपाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है, नंद लाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है। गिरधर नागर कहती मीरा, सूर को श्यामल भाया, सूर को श्यामल भाया। गिरधर नागर कहती मीरा, सूर को श्यामल भाया, सूर को श्यामल भाया। तुकाराम और नामदेव ने विठ्ठल विठ्ठल गाया, हो विठ्ठल विठ्ठल गाया। श्री राधे गोविंदा मन भजले हरि का प्यारा नाम है। श्री राधे गोविंदा मन भजले हरि का प्यारा नाम है। नरसी ने खड़ताल बजाकर सांवरिया को रिझाया, सांवरिया को निर्झाया। नरसी ने खड़ताल बजाकर सांवरिया को रिझाया, सांवरिया को रिझाया। शबरी ने अपने हाथों से प्रभु को बेर खिलाया, ओ प्रभु को बेर खिलाया। श्री राधे गोविंदा मन भजले हरि का प्यारा नाम है। जय नंद लाला जय गोपाला, जय नंद लाला जय गोपाला। हो राधा शक्ति बिना न कोई श्यामल दर्शन पाए, श्यामल दर्शन पाए। राधा शक्ति बिना न कोई श्यामल दर्शन पाए, श्यामल दर्शन पाए। आराधन कर राधे राधे कान्हा भागे आए, ओ कान्हा भागे आए। आराधन कर राधे राधे कान्हा भागे आए, ओ कान्हा भागे आए। श्री राधे गोविंदा मन भजले हरि का प्यारा नाम है। सिमरन का रस जिसको आया, वो ही जाने मन में, वो ही जाने मन में। निराकार साकार हो तेरे भक्तों के आंगन में, हो भक्तों के आंगन में। निराकार साकार हो तेरे भक्तों के आंगन में, हो भक्तों के आंगन में। श्री राधे गोविंदा मन भजले हरि का प्यारा नाम है। श्याम सलोने कुंज बिहारी, नटवर लीलाधारी, नटवर लीलाधारी। श्याम सलोने कुंज बिहारी, नटवर लीलाधारी, नटवर लीलाधारी। अंतरवासी हरि अविनाशी, लागे शरण तिहारी, ओ लागे शरण तिहारी। श्री राधे गोविंदा मन भजले हरिदा प्यारा नाम है। श्री राधे गोविंदा मन भजले हरि का प्यारा नाम है। ओ जय नंद लाला जय गोपाला, जय नंद लाला जय गोपाला, जय नंद लाला जय गोपाला, मदन मोहन बांसुरी वाला, जय नंद लाला जय गो, जय राधे जय कृष्णा, जय राधे जय कृष्णा, जय राधे जय कृष्णा, जय राधे जय कृष्णा। हरी हरी बोल, हरी बोल, बोल
Yeah,
प्रेमानंद, हरी बोल।
yeah. Very, very wonderful, beautiful. Thank you. Anchikapa Trubischa, Kripasundovicha, Patitanam Pavanabhyo, Vaishnavabhyo, Namamaha. Thank you all, dearest devotees, for attending, lending your Shravan, your hearing, absorbing, connecting, and enabling our wonderful speakers to share their Katha. And thank you so much to Gurudev and Parampara to bring us this most beautiful mercy every day. Haribol. Tarun, you can stop the streaming and we can let everyone